The silent decline. There is something disappearing from your life, quietly, patiently, without warning sounds or flashing lights. You don't notice it when you wake up. You don't feel it when you scroll. You don't see it when you repeat the same day again and again. But it is leaving you. Not suddenly, not dramatically, not in a way that makes you panic. It fades the way paint fades under the sun, slowly, day after day. Your mind is not breaking, it is shrinking from lack of use. You wake up and reach for your phone before your thoughts even form. You move through routines you could perform with your eyes closed. You avoid effort, discomfort, silence, and anything that demands focus. And then, one day, you pause and wonder why your memory feels unreliable, why concentration feels heavy, why curiosity feels weaker than it used to be. You assume this is normal. You assume this is age. You assume this is stress. But it is none of those things. It is neglect. The human brain is not designed to stay sharp automatically. It does not preserve itself out of loyalty to you. It adapts to how you live. And if your life requires little thought, little challenge, little resistance, your brain adjusts accordingly. It becomes efficient but dull, safe but slow, comfortable but fragile. This is not a warning meant to scare you. This is an invitation to wake up. Because what you are losing can be rebuilt. What feels slow can be sharpened. What feels old can feel alive again. But only if you stop treating your mind like a background app. This is not about motivation. It is not about hacks. It is not about quick tips to feel productive for a day. This is about training your brain to stay young, alert, and powerful, even as time moves forward. And it begins with understanding one simple truth. Your brain only stays alive when it is challenged. Core idea: why the brain ages or stays young. The brain is not like a machine that wears down with use. It is the opposite. It weakens when it is not needed. Every time you choose the easiest option, your brain learns that effort is unnecessary. Every time you avoid discomfort, it learns to stay passive. Every time you outsource thinking to a screen, it learns to wait instead of work. Over time, this creates a dangerous pattern, a mind that reacts but does not explore, consumes but does not create, moves but does not grow. To keep the brain young, you must interrupt comfort. You must create moments where your mind has no choice but to adapt. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently. The habits that follow are not designed to entertain you. They are designed to wake up parts of your brain that have gone quiet. We begin with the simplest form of disruption. Awakening the brain. Habit 1. Use the hand you ignore. Your brain loves familiarity. It loves efficiency. And nothing feels more efficient than doing everything the same way you always have. The same hand, the same movements, the same patterns. But familiarity is also how growth stops. When you deliberately use your non-dominant hand, the one you usually ignore, something interesting happens. Simple actions suddenly require attention. Brushing your teeth becomes awkward. Eating feels clumsy. Writing your name becomes slow and frustrating. That frustration is not failure. It is activation. Your brain is being forced out of autopilot. New neural pathways are being formed because the old ones are no longer enough. This is how flexibility is preserved. The discomfort you feel is the signal that your brain is working again. And when the brain works, it stays adaptable. When it stays adaptable, it stays young. If everything you do feels easy, your mind is not growing, it is coasting. Habit 2. Choose one difficult thing every day. Most people spend their lives designing comfort. They arrange their days to avoid resistance. They remove obstacles wherever possible. What they don't realize is that effort is the price of mental strength. Your brain does not respond to ease, it responds to challenge. Doing one difficult thing each day is not about suffering. It is about reminding your mind that avoidance is not the default. That difficult thing does not need to be dramatic. It only needs to stretch you. Speaking when you would rather stay silent. Studying when your energy is low. Saying no when comfort says yes. Waking up earlier than you want. Facing a task you've been postponing. Each time you do this, your brain receives a message. I am still required. Over time, this creates resilience. Focus strengthens, confidence returns, mental sharpness follows. A brain that is never challenged forgets how to engage. A brain that is challenged daily remembers its purpose. Habit 3. Spend time each day without screens. The modern brain is overstimulated but undertrained. Endless scrolling fragments attention into pieces too small to hold meaning. Your mind jumps constantly, never landing, never resting, never focusing deeply enough to grow. Silence now feels uncomfortable because your brain has forgotten to be alone. This is not rest. This is dependency. Spending even a short period each day without screens forces your brain to regulate itself again. There is no instant reward, no constant novelty, no external stimulation to lean on. At first, your mind may feel restless, boredom may appear, anxiety may surface. This is normal. You are not becoming worse, you are detoxing. In silence, the brain recalibrates. Focus slowly returns. Mental clarity begins to rebuild. A mind that never rests from stimulation loses the ability to think deeply. A mind that regularly experiences quiet regains control. Habit 4. Protect your sleep environment. Sleep is not passive, it is active repair. During deep sleep, your brain organizes memory, clears waste, and restores emotional balance. But it can only do this when conditions are right. Light disrupts depth. Noise fragments cycles. Notifications keep the brain partially alert. Many people sleep long hours but never truly recover. The difference between mental clarity and mental fog is often not how long you sleep, but how deeply. Darkness signals safety. Silence signals rest. Distance from devices signals closure. When sleep becomes protected, the brain begins to heal. Focus sharpens. Mood stabilizes. Memory improves. Sleep is not a luxury for the brain. It is maintenance. And without maintenance, even the strongest system degrades. Transition forward. These first habits do not transform you overnight. They wake you up. They interrupt patterns that have kept your brain quiet for too long. They remind your mind that it is still needed, still capable, still alive. But awakening is only the beginning. Next comes the harder work, breaking the modern habits that slowly poison focus, memory, and depth. And that's where the real rebuilding begins. Breaking modern mental poison. Awakening the brain is only the first step. What follows is harder.
Because now you must confront the habits that quietly weaken your mind every day. Habits that feel normal, harmless, even necessary. They are not. They are mental shortcuts that slowly steal depth, memory, and clarity. To rebuild your brain, these patterns must be broken. Habit 5. Walk alone in nature without your phone. Most people are never truly alone anymore. Their bodies move through the world, but their minds stay trapped inside screens, walking while checking messages, listening to music to avoid silence, filling every empty moment with noise. The brain was never designed for this. When you walk alone in nature without your phone, your nervous system begins to reset. Your senses wake up. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts reorganize themselves. At first, you may feel restless. Your mind may search for distraction. That discomfort is withdrawal, not weakness. As the noise fades, something unexpected appears. Your inner voice. Ideas surface. Memories return. Emotions soften. Nature does not stimulate your brain aggressively. It restores it gently. A mind that never experiences stillness becomes anxious. A mind that regularly reconnects with the natural world remembers what calm feels like. Habit 6. Read what challenges your beliefs. The brain grows strongest when it is forced to think, not agree. Most people read only what confirms their opinions. They consume information that feels familiar, safe, validating. This creates mental stagnation. When you read something that challenges you, a viewpoint you dislike, a belief that contradicts your own, your brain is forced to slow down. It must analyze, it must question, it must reconsider. This process is uncomfortable but powerful. Confusion is not a weakness. It is the doorway to intelligence. A brain that is never challenged becomes rigid. A rigid brain ages quickly. Reading against your beliefs keeps your mind flexible, curious, and alive. Habit 7. Try to remember before you check. Modern life has trained us to stop remembering. Forgot a name? Check. Forgot a date? Check. Forgot a word? Check. Each time you do this without effort, you teach your brain that memory is optional. But memory is not stored by convenience. It is strengthened by struggle. When you pause and attempt to recall something, even for a short moment, your brain activates retrieval pathways. That effort reinforces neural connections. It may feel uncomfortable. You may fail. That is fine. The attempt itself is what matters. A brain that is never asked to remember forgets how. A brain that is regularly challenged to recall stays sharp. Habit 8. Do something you are bad at. Nothing threatens the ego like incompetence. That is why most people avoid activities they are bad at. They stay in familiar territory, repeating skills they already know. The brain does not grow there. Learning happens when you struggle, when you feel awkward, when progress is slow. Learning a new instrument, speaking in public, trying a language you don't understand, drawing badly, cooking something unfamiliar. Failure forces adaptation. Your brain does not care about embarrassment. It cares about expansion. When you only do what you are good at, your brain stays comfortable, and comfort is decay. A young mind is not one that wins, it is one that keeps learning. Transition. At this stage, the brain begins to detox. Focus improves, awareness deepens. But clarity alone is not enough. To stay young, the mind must go deeper, beyond stimulation, beyond surface-level interaction. That requires rebuilding depth. Rebuilding depth and intelligence. A shallow life creates a shallow mind. Endless small talk, endless routine, endless consumption without reflection. Depth is what gives the brain meaning. And meaning is what makes memory stick. Habit 9. Have deep conversations. Most conversations never reach the brain. They pass through without leaving a trace. How are you? Busy. Nice weather. Nothing emotional, nothing memorable, nothing real. The brain remembers emotion, not noise. When a conversation touches fear, hope, regret, or change, your mind becomes fully engaged. It listens carefully. It processes deeply. It forms lasting impressions. Deep conversations activate empathy, reflection, and emotional intelligence. A brain that never connects deeply forgets how to care. A brain that regularly engages with meaning stays alive. Habit 10. Break your routine. Routine saves energy, but energy saved too long becomes mental stagnation. When every day looks the same, the brain stops paying attention. It switches to autopilot. Autopilot is efficient and dangerous. Small changes disrupt this pattern. Different routes, new environments, unexpected variations. Novelty forces awareness. When the brain notices, it learns. When it learns, it grows. Life on repeat creates mental numbness. Variation restores curiosity. Habit 11. Teach what you learn. Understanding something is not enough. If knowledge stays inside your head, it fades. When you explain it to someone else, it strengthens. Teaching forces clarity. It reveals gaps. It organizes thought. You don't need an audience. You don't need expertise. Explain an idea out loud. Write it down. Share it simply. When you teach, your brain claims ownership of information. A brain that never teaches forgets. A brain that explains remembers. Habit 12. Choose strategy over stimulation. Not all games are equal. Some demand thinking. Others demand nothing. Endless tapping, bright colors, instant rewards, these train your brain to expect dopamine without effort. Strategy games do the opposite. They demand planning, patience, and problem solving. Losing is common. Frustration is part of the process. That frustration is mental training. A brain that never struggles stops thinking deeply. A brain that regularly solves problems stays agile. Transition toward the final stage. By now, your brain is no longer passive. It notices more. It remembers more. It engages more deeply with life. But true mental youth requires discipline, the ability to control impulses, discomfort, and desire. That is the final stage.
Mental discipline and control. By this point, your brain is no longer asleep. It is alert. It is responsive. It is beginning to feel alive again. But awareness alone does not guarantee longevity. To remain young, the mind must learn control. Control over impulses, comfort, distraction, and fear. This final stage is not gentle. It is deliberate. This is where discipline replaces convenience. Habit 13. Practice intermittent fasting for mental clarity. The brain is expensive to run. When the body is constantly digesting, energy is diverted away from thinking. This is why heavy meals often lead to mental fog. Intermittent fasting is not about punishment. It is about giving the brain uninterrupted access to energy. When you delay eating, even for a short window, the body shifts into a more alert state. Focus sharpens. Thoughts become cleaner. Distractions lose power. This is not starvation. It is restraint. A brain that is never challenged to function without constant intake becomes sluggish.
A brain that experiences controlled hunger remembers how to stay sharp. Clarity often arrives when comfort is temporarily removed. Habit 14. Use brainwriting instead of brainstorming. Noise creates performance. Silence creates depth. Brainstorming often rewards the fastest voice, not the deepest thought. Ideas are spoken before they are fully formed. Brainwriting removes the audience. When you sit alone and write without interruption, your brain must confront itself. The obvious ideas appear first, then resistance, then emptiness. If you push past that emptiness, something valuable emerges. This process is uncomfortable because it exposes shallow thinking, but it is also where real insight lives. A brain that never sits alone with a problem stays surface level. A brain that writes in silence learns to think independently. Habit 16. Cold exposure as mental training. Comfort dulls the mind. Cold exposure does the opposite. When cold water hits the body, the brain is forced into immediate presence. There is no distraction, no rumination, no escape. Breathing becomes deliberate. Awareness becomes sharp. This is not about toughness. It is about learning to stay calm under stress. When you choose discomfort voluntarily, you train your nervous system to respond instead of panic. That skill transfers to life. A brain that never faces discomfort becomes fragile. A brain that regularly confronts it becomes resilient. Habit 17. Memorize something every week. Memory is not a passive storage system. It is an active skill. When you stop memorizing, memory fades. When you rely entirely on external devices, the brain stops holding information. Memorizing a poem, a verse, or a meaningful passage forces deep focus. It requires repetition, structure, and patience. This process strengthens attention and recall simultaneously. More importantly, it builds an internal world, knowledge that lives inside you, not on a screen. A brain filled only with links feels empty. A brain that carries words, meaning, and rhythm feels whole. Memory is identity. Protect it. The choice you make daily. These habits are not easy. They were never meant to be. Ease does not preserve the mind. Comfort does not protect intelligence. Convenience does not keep the brain young. Effort does. Every day, your brain makes a quiet calculation. Is it required today or not? If the answer is no, it adapts downward. If the answer is yes, it grows. This is not about age. It is about use. You can scroll through life, entertained and distracted, wondering why time feels empty. Or you can engage with it, deliberately, thoughtfully, with resistance. The brain you have in 10 years will not be determined by genetics alone. It will be shaped by what you challenge, what you avoid, and what you train. You do not need to master all 16 habits at once. You only need to begin. Choose effort over ease, depth over noise, presence over escape. Because a mind that is used stays young, and a mind that is ignored fades quietly. The choice is not dramatic. It is daily, and it starts now.